We're here at Socialism 2019. It's the 2nd of November 2019. You might not believe this, but when we booked the venue for our event, we did anticipate that it might be around the time of a general election. And now here we are. The general election was called this week. And this event is going to be the biggest socialist election preparation event that there is. We are gathering together 1,000 socialists, trade unionists, students, young people, community campaigners, housing campaigners, working class fighters to prepare ourselves to get out on the streets over the next few weeks and fight for Corbyn to win with socialist policies. That is what we need. That is what we urgently need.
Corbyn's programme is quite modest by historical standards, but I don't think we should underestimate how far it still terrifies the capitalist class. Read their papers this week. City AM, the free newspaper for city workers, had an editorial about how Corbyn is launching a vicious class war against them and then going on for plans of how to get their money out of the country. Why are they so terrified? Well, there's two reasons. The first is they don't want to give up a penny. No matter how much is modest his programme, they don't want the working class to gain anything. But there's a second and more fundamental reason. They're frightened. They're frightened that not Corbyn is launching a vicious class war, but the election of a government led by him could raise the confidence of the working class in this country to conduct a class war, unlike the one we've got at the moment, where the rich are winning, where we win that class war.
We are going to be discussing the ideas necessary to build the mass fight back needed against the capitalist sabotage that we anticipate against Jeremy Corbyn's government.
They've employed a new term of expansionary austerity, and this is related to what's likely the drama that's likely to develop in Britain in the next period. And the central question is, how can Corbyn win in this general election? There's enormous scepticism, including in this hall, I suspect, that Corbyn, through his zigzags, along with John MacDonald, has introduced a very confused period, situation and contradiction in the consciousness of the people.
Socialism 2019 is a weekend of discussion and debate. We're calling it a festival of ideas because every battle starts with a battle plan. Our battle plan is socialist ideas. So we're going to be discussing all the questions that face working class and young people in Britain today. How can we end the misery of universal credit? How do we solve the housing crisis? We stand for the building of council homes, a mass building of council homes. But also we're looking around the world, aren't we? Look at the eruptions in Chile, in Algeria, all across the world. We're going to be discussing those questions. How do we fight for the rights of the Kurds? How can the people in Kashmir have their right to self-determination fought for and defended? These are some of the questions that we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be casting an eye as well on the lessons that history provides for the struggle for socialism, the struggle to end the misery of capitalism, the struggle against austerity and council cuts. And one of the great lessons provided to us is, of course, the lessons of Liverpool in the 1980s, when the council there, under the leadership of Militant, a socialist council, built homes, defied Thatcher, beat Thatcher, and went on to build 5,000 council homes, create parks, create nurseries, create apprenticeships. And at the rally tonight, which is the high point of the event, we're going to be celebrating the huge contribution of Tony Mulhern, a member of the Socialist Party who recently sadly passed away. We're going to be celebrating his contribution to the struggle for socialism.
Ronnie Reagan may need the services of astrologers to predict what's going to happen in the future. Militant supporters prefer to rely on the method of Marxism. Understanding that method, we know that our best days still lie ahead. A great contest is unfolding on a national and international scale, and the prize of that contest is socialism on a national and an international scale. We remain confident that we'll win that prize.
Where he and the Militant turned the language of socialism into the language of bricks and mortar and built those homes. Among the speakers are going to be Peter Taff, former editor of The Militant, a word that casts terror into the Tories because Militant, don't forget, not only beat Thatcher in Liverpool but also beat Thatcher over the poll tax.
We support all the reforms in Labour's programme. A 35-hour week without loss in pay. A massive programme of public works. But we say that the next Labour government must nationalise not every grocer's shop, but the 200 monopolies that control 80 to 85% of the economy and introduce a socialist plan of production. If it doesn't do that, unfortunately, the next Labour government can create the disillusionment that the last Labour government created. That's why we lost the general election in 1979.
We'll also have Marion Lloyd, who is standing as the General Secretary of the PCS Union, the Civil Service Union, one of the most militant unions in Britain that has been fighting the Tories and has been fighting the Blairites before that. And she is standing to rebuild that union as a left-fighting democratic union in the hands of the members.
I have learnt all of my working life that by being a member of the Militant and now the Socialist Party, that our struggle is to win the best candidates for our members on the best programme. But I understand as well that it's part of a wider struggle for socialist change. That is what we're here for, and that is what we fight and we struggle for. Solidarity, comrades. Let's go out there and do what we can in this election. Thank you for listening.
We've got Donal O'Coffig, a councillor, a socialist councillor in Northern Ireland, one of the most difficult places, but fighting to bring the working class together there to stand up against the austerity and the brutality in that part of the world. We've got Theo Sharif. He is the organiser, the national organiser of socialist students, and that is the key organisation on campus that stands for free education.
These are all aspects, by the way, of our socialist general election campaign, which we're going to be running on campuses. We'll be discussing at the Socialist Students' National Conference in Birmingham on the 30th of November. But I'll finish on these points. What we won't be preparing to do is door knock and campaign for Blairite right-wing Labour candidates. People who for now are happy to drape themselves in the popularity of Corbyn's leadership, but tomorrow will try their best to sink the knife in to his back if he makes it into Downing Street.
We hope that if you haven't joined us this time, you will join the Socialist Party. Join us in that struggle. Join us in helping to build a mass voice for socialism in Britain today so that we can change society, so that we can get the Tories out and we can change the world in the interests of the workers and young people yearning for a change, yearning for socialism across the world, yearning for a future that they can look forward to.
A couple of weeks ago, the US paper, The Washington Post, produced a survey of 100 years of 150 revolutions and revolts. And they'd gone into them all and they'd studied them. And this was their only conclusion, the thread that ran through it all. The difference between whether they won or whether they lost was whether the working class was actively involved. And they're absolutely right. And the final thing that I will say, we can say with certainty, is that the Socialist Party, as will our comrades around the world in the CWI, will go from this hall today and we will fight tenaciously to build a mass revolutionary party, a party that fights for every immediate step forward for the working class, as we did in Liverpool and we do every day, but also always puts central the need for the overthrow of capitalism and the socialist transformation of society in order to build a new democratic order that can meet the needs of all humanity.